Yo, 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 it's your boy Cool Blue back at it again with another video here on the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Today is May 11th, 2021, and the title of the episode Is the Future Bright for the Philadelphia Flyers? So what's going on, everybody? It's been a while. It's been actually a couple weeks since I've posted. There's a couple reasons for that. So it's been 3 weeks, basically, since I've posted up here on the channel. And I hate to do that. I struggled with not being able to get up and record and put things on the channel because I'm trying to, I like talking and I like talking about the Philadelphia Flyers. And, this is kind of my outlet. And for any future listeners, I'll try to stay in touch with what's going on and why I'm not posting. But so basically, a couple weeks ago, I got real busy in my life, and I wasn't able to record the way I wanted to, and I don't want to half-ass record the way that I would have had to if I would have done it 3 weeks ago. And also, there was a couple of days where the Flyers, I mean, we all know, we all watch this season, right? Or some of us maybe have turned off the channel and they just got their notifications on their phones on how bad they were doing. But I fell into this rut where I didn't really know what to talk about with the Flyers, and I don't ever really want to do that. So going forward, my promise I'm making to my followers, my subscribers, any future subscribers, if anybody who wants to listen, I apologize for not giving it my utmost attention. This channel is really a way for me to outlet and to speak about the things and how I feel and what's going on with the team that I love, and that's the Philadelphia Flyers. So I don't want anyone to get the impression that I'm not a ride or die fan for them. I don't want anyone to think that I'm only in it for the good times, because that's not true. To be honest with you, there was about a week where I just didn't really know what to talk about, and I don't really want that to ever happen again. So I'm going to make it a point to make sure that doesn't happen. Even if we can talk about other things that are going on in the NHL league. And I remember the first video I ever made, I talked about how this channel was going to be about the Flyers, it was going to be NHL news, and it was going to be about Gritty. So I know there's other things I can talk about, and as a part of a creator, I have to do better. I have to be able to come up with topics, and I have to be able to come up with new ideas to bring to the channel. So I apologize for that. Now, the other 2 weeks, I got hit with COVID, so I was out of it for a little bit. On a personal note, I wasn't able to breathe correctly, and my chest didn't feel right for a while. And it was honestly hard for me to talk a lot, so I had to just put the channel on the back burner for 2 weeks because of that. This week is honestly the first week that I'm feeling up to recording, as far as not that I don't want to, or not that I didn't want to for the last 2 weeks, because the last 2 weeks and quarantining and stuff, it drove me nuts. And honestly, recording videos for the channel would have given me something to do, but I just physically couldn't do it. I would have been coughing the whole time. I would have been pausing and re-recording and overlapping and all that other crap, so much that I didn't think it was worth it. But I'm back now. Hopefully, I don't have to go through that again, ever again. But I'm back now, and there's tons of stuff to talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about is the title of the episode. And the title of the episode is the Future Bright for the Philadelphia Flyers? Now, this episode isn't a recap of the season. We're going to do that tomorrow, probably, maybe even the next day. But this episode in particular is just about what we saw in the last month and a half with the Philadelphia Flyers. And I'm going to pose a lot of questions. I'm going to bring up a couple topics, some players. And this episode really is to talk about whether or not the team we have is going to look very similar to the team we see next year. Because as of today, the Philadelphia Flyers season is over. And I tweeted out this morning, it sucks waking up today knowing that the Philadelphia Flyers season is over. You know, it was a rough year. It was a rough year as a fan. I'm sure it was a rough year as a player. To bring up some NHL news, I watched the press conference that the Vegas Knights goalie Ryan put up, or is that his name, Ryan or Brian? I'm sorry if I get that wrong, but you can go on YouTube. You can look up Vegas Knights goaltender press conference about COVID-19 and all that stuff, and he talks about the struggles that players and teams went through this season due to the isolation and the contracts they were under, and I don't take for granted one little bit this last season that just happened, that just ended for the Philadelphia Flyers, because I know deep down it was not a normal season for us, and it was not a normal season for the players and the coaches and the medical staff and anyone that works in the stadiums. I know that it's not a normal season for anybody. So, with that said, I don't think that it's the biggest excuse, but I'm a firm believer that there's a difference between an excuse and a reason. And I believe that that was the reason for our downfall this year. Okay? Now, the reason why this is not a recap is because I want to talk about what we watched towards the end of the year. Now, I know a lot of people turned the channels off turned all the games off because, they were pissed off and they didn't want to watch it anymore. And, the Flyers weren't good enough, and it was hard to watch them. And don't get me wrong, it was hard to watch them. I will be the first one to admit to you that this season was not easy to watch. And there were games where I wanted to turn it off. There are games where I actually fell asleep. I'm not afraid to say that. But the thing is, there's a lot of things that happened in the last month that I am excited about. And mainly, it's the young talent that we saw come up through the farm system. These are homegrown players. And I will be honest with you. I think that the players coming up are good. They're good. They got some talent. We definitely have some talent in our farm system and on our roster. And with these young guys, I can't imagine what it would be like to go into the NHL for the first time. Without a pandemic, where you're skating with these guys, you're talking to these guys, you're hanging out with these guys, you're getting to know these teammates, and whatnot. But during a pandemic, where you're not even practicing, you know what I mean? You have a morning skate and that's it. You're not allowed to go outside your hotel rooms to see these guys or hang out with these guys. You're in isolation. I can't imagine what that experience is like for a young person coming into the highest league in hockey. I can't imagine what that's like. I think that we saw the trade deadline. We saw that we moved Raffl, and we had talked about Raffl probably in the last episode. I'm not too sure. I can't remember, but we talked about Raffl and what impact he had on our team, especially on the penalty kill. I really enjoyed watching Raffl on the penalty kill. He did have some timely goals throughout his career. He wasn't one that I leaned on for clutch goals or anything like that. But I will tell you this. After watching Wade Allison play for the last few games of the season, man, that guy, I think he's a better version of Raffl. And I think that he's going to fill his spot in, no questions asked. That's just my prediction. I like the guy. I think that he's got some good talent. I think he's actually even he has more talent than Raffl. But we'll see. He only played it like 8 games or something like that, if that. But hey, the guy puts in the effort. He's a grinder, man. He's a grinder. He's not afraid to go in there and get the dirty goals. He's not afraid to go in there and get the puck out when it's deep in the zone up against the boards. He fights for that puck, man. He has a little, I don't know if he's playing with a chip on his shoulder or what, but I'll tell you what, Wade Allison is a good player, and I'm gonna stand up for him, and I'm gonna stand my ground, and I hope people hold me to it, because I think that he's gonna be on the Flyers for a long time. Now, he's not the only one. He's not the only one that we saw come up at the end of the year, which is pretty cool. So we saw Jackson Cates. He came up. He was good. He was fun to watch. I want to see a little bit more of him. We didn't see that much of him at the end of the year. He is 24. So is Wade Allison. I would like to see some more of Cates on the ice before I'm making a final assessment on him. Obviously, Joel Farabee's been up all season. He's great. Morgan Frost, it was a shame that he got hurt and he was out. I think that Morgan Frost probably would have been in the lineup almost all year if he didn't get hurt. Let's see. Lorinsky. We saw him, Tanner Lorinsky, come up. I like Tanner. Tanner, he's got a little spark in his game. I don't think that he might be ready to come up to the NHL level quite yet, but we'll have to see what happens in the offseason. But I do like Tanner's game. I think that he's quick to the puck. He kind of reminds me of Konechny when he first came up. I don't want to compare his skill level to Konechny, but just like the way he plays, I like that. Let's see. Sam Morin. I love Sam Morin in the lineup. I think he's great at clearing out the net. I feel like he's a presence on the ice that like you can't replicate in any of our other guys. We just need Sam to stay healthy. We need to get Sam more reps up in the NHL level, but I think Sam Morin will be just fine. I'm glad to see him enter the lineup this year. And he played. He was playing when games really still mattered for us, when we weren't truly eliminated from the playoff run. Let's see. Turinsky. We saw Turinsky a little bit this year. I can't remember if we saw him last year or not. But Turinsky, I think, he's a good young talent. Which it's funny because all the guys that I've been talking about, they're all 24 years old. But no, seriously, I think Turinsky did fine. I don't know if he is capable of handling a full NHL season workload just quite yet, but it's good to have guys like him in the farm system and that have some NHL experience if needed to be called up at any point in time during the regular season or during the playoffs. So it was good to see him up in the lineup this year for a couple games. Now, the last person on the list that I'm looking at the roster here, I might have missed some people. I'm not too sure. Let me know down in the comments if I missed anyone that came up that's not on the roster that I'm looking at right now. I think this is just a roster for the last game and the scratches, but it could be for the whole year. I'm not too sure. It was a stressful year, but there's a name on here that I don't even know how to pronounce, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce. But honestly, I know that Lyon's been on the team for a couple years, but even Alex Lyon, I thought he looked good in some of the games that he played. Now, some of the games that he played, we also sucked, defensively and all around team. But I think Alex Lyon should get a shot in being a legit backup goalie if Moose doesn't return to the roster next year, which we could maybe touch on a little bit. Actually, we'll touch on that next time in the next episode because I think that goes into the whole recap. But the one guy that I kind of like, and I was really excited to see him make his NHL debut, was Cam York. Now, Cam didn't play that many games. I think he only played 2, maybe 3. I'm pretty sure it was only 2. But his presence on the ice, his calmness in situations, I really, really like. And I'm really, really intrigued to watch him play more minutes in the NHL level. His calmness is like pros. They don't really panic. You know what I mean? And I feel like you kind of need that, especially in big moments and big pressure situations. And even when you're down, hopefully going forward, we're not down in a game as much as we were this year. I think we were down like literally every game. It was very rare if we had the lead in the first period. But even when you're down, to stay calm, stay composed, play your game, play in the big moments, in small moments throughout the entire game. Cam York had, now like I said, he only played like 2 or 3 games, but his presence and his calmness, man, at his age, I got to tell you, man, there's not a lot of guys, especially defensemen at 20 years old, that have that presence, So I really like that. And to compare him to somebody, I think of Ghost. Like, Ghost, when something doesn't go right for Ghost, I feel like you can see the panic in his face. You can feel the panic as he races back on defense because he knows that he just let somebody skate right around him, and they're probably going to have a clear shot at the net. Cam just has a calmer presence, and I just think that's great. So, is the future bright for the Flyers? That's the question, right? I think it is, and I think it is because we had such a crazy schedule. Now, I know everybody throughout the league had a crazy schedule, and I don't even want to get into like all the different treatments that each team had and what scenarios, but all I want to talk about is our situation. For a team that's this young, with a coach that's only been here for 2 seasons, I think I don't want to say that I expected them to be in the playoffs, because maybe throughout in the beginning of the season, yeah, I did. I did expect them to be in the playoffs this year because they looked so great at the end of last year. I know they crumbled in Game 7 against the New York Islanders when they were in the bubble. That was totally different hockey play compared to being back into stadiums, starting out with no fans, getting to the point where they start letting fans in at certain capacities. No practices. Claude Giroux, talk about no practice. You're talking about Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson's the only one that doesn't need practice. But Claude Giroux earlier today had a very interesting what's it called? He had a very interesting quote today. Oh wait, let me see this. Elliot. Oh, I thought that was Freddie Freeman. Yeah, I don't care. Wait. So Elliot Friedman lists the Rangers, Ducks, Flyers, Kings, Senators, and Canadiens as teams with the pieces for Jack Eichel. Ooh. Could you imagine if the Flyers got Jack Eichel? That's what they need, man. They need a Jack Eichel on their team. That's sweet. I got to send that to my friend. Yeah, we need a Jack Eichel. If we could get a Jack Eichel on our team, oh my gosh, we'd be so much better. So here, I'm looking for the where's the quote? But the quote was very interesting. It was Claude Giroux talking pretty much. And you know who else why I'm looking for this tweet. I also heard that Phil Kessel could be a guy that could end up on the Flyers next year. Now, is that somebody that we want? I mean, Phil Kessel, as much as he's a nuisance on the ice sometimes, hey, he puts up points, man. There's no denying that. He puts up points. So I don't know. It's a lot to think about. What I think about when I hear the names Eichel and Phil Kessel is like, okay, Eichel's probably more of a bigger name as far as like lethal than what's it called? He's probably a little bit more lethal than Phil Kessel, but Phil Kessel is still dangerous on the ice. Like, don't get me wrong, he's definitely dangerous. So Jordan Hall at NBC Sports, he tweeted out a bunch of quotes today. So I'm gonna read off some of these quotes, and I'm just gonna see how I feel about where the team is mentally and where they're looking and where and how they're feeling about like the future and this season and how it ended. So Shane Gostisbehere said he's getting married in August. He's very excited. He joked it's about time. Okay, cool, Shane. Congratulations, though. I hope everything works out for you and your future wife. Carter Hart said, team bonding is crucial to a successful team. Side note, Hart hasn't seen his family since December, so he's excited to get back home and see everybody. See, this is what I'm talking about, man. A lot of people and a lot of fans, and I got to be honest with you, I was one of them until I discovered that they were like being treated like prisoners, basically, in isolation. Carter Hart, he's what, 20 years old, 21 years old? This is a guy who hasn't seen his family in half a year. You know what I mean? We're going on half a year. He's 23. I mean, he's probably not homesick. Like, I don't think that that's the case, but not being able to see family members, that's tough, man. Like, especially to somebody that might they might not have that many friends, and maybe they have more family than friends. We don't know these things, or maybe like things that come up in someone's life, or when they're struggling mentally at their work, or when they're on the ice in net. Maybe they have a family tradition that helps them stay focused. We don't know these things. We're not privy to these things, and we shouldn't be, because that's Carter Hart's personal business. But it clearly affected him this year. And we talked about this in multiple episodes, that our team never had the problem of scoring. Offense was never the Flyers' problem. It was always the defense. I never once blamed Carter Hart for the season failure. It was not Carter Hart's fault. I do believe that Carter Hart needed to go through something like this, because it teaches someone that young that, you're going to have rough seasons. It's going to happen. You're not always going to have the all-star lineup in front of you. So I think that this is a very big growing season for Carter Hart, and I do believe that Carter Hart is fine. I do believe that with a normal schedule and normal practices, and not being in isolation for half a year or more than half a year, I think him and a lot of other players on the team and around the league will be just fine. All right, let's see. Who else we got? Carter Hart mentions how teammates invited him over for dinner during the season. Hart said it was challenging early on just living by yourself. See, that's what I'm saying, man. You had a young kid. Like, and who knows? We don't know his medical conditions. Maybe he was scared of COVID. Maybe he was freaked out by COVID. I don't know. You know what I mean? Some people are, some people aren't, and that, to who it's your own. But like, I don't know. I don't know Carter Hart's situation, but I will tell you this: I do believe that he's just fine. I think he'll be all right. I'm not worried about Carter Hart in the slightest. But moving on. Philip Myers says, I've got a lot of motivation this summer. I'm going to be camping at the bit for training camp next year. Cool. See, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, if as a fan and as someone that talks about the Flyers on a YouTube channel, if I know that this season was a wash and that, it wasn't a normal season, and next year will be way more normal than this year, and even at the end of last year with the bubble, it wasn't normal. If I know that, they definitely know that, and I think that is going to motivate a lot of people, because I think they know how good they really are. So that's just how I'm feeling about that right there. All right, let's see. He says Oscar Lindblom sounded very eager to get back to training this offseason. He mentions the cram schedule making it difficult for rest and recovery after what he went through. Dude, oh man, that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's this schedule, and like, yes, every team in the NHL went through stuff, but these are the voices that we didn't hear throughout the season. You know what I mean? Because to be honest with you, during the season, if they all came out and made statements like this, everyone would have been like, oh, they're using COVID as an excuse. They're using the tight schedule as an excuse. No, it affects everyone differently. Okay? The schedule that we had, the schedule that Vegas had, the schedule that the Canadiens had, or the Vancouver Canucks had, it's all different. Every state's different, has different laws. Every state has different rules. You know, it's different for every single state. Every team has different schedules depending on how far you had to travel, depending on how many home games you had in a row. These are things that made this season very difficult. And there's a lot of teams that have veteran players that might be able to handle these things. We have a lot of young players that might not be able to handle the pandemic, the COVID, all the other dumb shit that's happening in the world, and be able to focus on their job. But that's all part of growing up. So, like I said, I'm not worried about Carter Hart, and I'm not worried about a lot of these young guys. Joel Farabee, quote, I have a lot of faith in my teammates. We have a really good group, end quote. Yo, Joel Farabee stepped his game up this year. Okay? He really did. And I like hearing things like that from the young guys. It makes us feel, or at least it makes me feel, like the future is bright. And that's what this episode's all about. Is the future bright? And we're hearing from the players on how they feel about the season, the offseason, and the next season. All right, here we go. Does offensive production weigh on the mind? Says Jordan Hall. Quote, Nolan Patrick, yeah, for sure. Patrick said this offseason will be the most important one of his life. Sounded like this season was a real challenge for Patrick, not feeling like himself as a player, says Jordan Hall. All right. I want to dive into this more when we do the recap of the season, but every single Flyer fan can agree that Nolan Patrick's season this year was subpar. Not even subpar. It was terrible. It was awful. It was garbage. It was a burning car. It was a hot mess. The future of this team really could benefit from the Nolan Patrick play that we got before he went out on his injury and his migraine syndrome. That's why he was drafted number 2 overall. Now, like I said, we'll dive into Patrick deeper in the next episode. So stay tuned for that and look out. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. You'll be notified anytime I post a video up on the channel or do a live stream. But going back to what I was saying, Patrick had a bad season. We know how good Patrick can be. And when he says this offseason will be the most important one of his life, I think that he understands. I think he does. I think he understands. And he's a young guy. He's young. He's not a vet like Voracek and Giroux and Brian Elliott. I mean, Nolan Patrick, I even consider Coots as a vet at this point. But Nolan Patrick, he's only 23 years old. He's a young bull. He's learning the game at the NHL level. And he's learning how to grow up. And like I said, this season taught a lot of these players how to grow up and how to mentally mature. Travis Sanheim mentions that the mental challenges of this season when going through a struggling stretch, said he was going to be better because of going through those challenges and learning from them. Mentioned being a -6 versus the Rangers and then playing next night versus the Islanders. So I love this from Travis Sanheim because he's a young guy too. He's only been in the league a couple years. And what he's saying is this season, and this is kind of wraps, this sums up of what I said, I've been saying this whole time. It's teaching these young guys. He straight up says, this season, when going through struggling stretches, he said he's going to be better off because of this season and going through those challenges. So he's basically saying that as a young man and as a young player in the NHL, come talk to him in a year or two, because going through what he went through this past season, he'll probably never have to go through something that's challenging again. And I honestly believe him. And I 100% agree. Scott Laughton said he lost weight when he had COVID-19 and then admitted that he was pressing a bit when the trade deadline was on the horizon. Said he'd be lying if he said he wasn't thinking about it. I had COVID. I lost weight. I lost weight during COVID. I'm not going to lie. I don't know how much, but I did. I know a lot of people that did. It definitely messes with your head. And, Scott Laughton, he's been around. I think he's like 27. And this is not his first season. He's been on the team for quite some time now. Yeah, Scott Laughton's 27. That's an interesting statement. And, I'm glad that he's feeling better. And I'm sure he did worry about the trade deadline. And COVID affects everyone differently. So, yeah, I'm sure that it was depressing for him not being in the lineup and having to worry about the trade deadline, losing weight. For an athlete that's losing weight for no reason, all because you're sick, that can't be a good feeling, especially when you don't have your normal regimen that you would normally have without a pandemic, as far as working out and keeping your body in shape and whatnot. Robert Hagg started the season with pulling both of his groins. He then had the shoulder injury later on in the season. Wow, I did not know that he had pulled both his groins. Because, a lot of these injuries, they just say lower body or upper body. That's just how hockey is. I like Robert Hagg. I don't know if he is a permanent piece on the team, but I do like what he brings. To the ice when he's out there. He's not the most flawless defenseman, but he definitely knows how to. He's a role defenseman. He's a role player defenseman. He knows his role and he plays it well. Brian Elliott. Last two contracts have been 1-year deals. He said that can actually help in regards to motivation and proving yourself. All right. Will we see Moose back on the roster next year? Hey, Moose is he's a good defenseman. Or I'm sorry, he's a good goalie. I like Moose in a lot of situations. So we'll have to keep our eyes out for any contracts and deals that go his way during this offseason. So let's see. Travis Konecny will be a dad in August. He was very excited, and said he and his fiance will be in the area in July, getting ready for the new addition. Congratulations, Travis Konecny, and your future fiance. I wish you nothing but the best of luck with the wedding, with the baby. I hope that everything goes well. I wish your family nothing but happiness and good health. Let's see. Nicholas Aube-Kubel in the in the exit interview with the old school 76ers hat on. That's dope. He said, I have a spot to defend. When talking about going into camp next year, Nicholas Aube-Kubel was very honest about learning from his penalties and wanting to be better in that area. Nicholas Aube-Kubel, I love your honesty. Um, I think you do have a spot to defend, but I trust you, and whatever happens happens. Whether you're in the organization at the minor level or at the the National League level, you will always be a positive piece in the Flyers organization. So we'll have to keep an eye out when Cam comes around next year, and may the best guy win the spots on the team. Sam Moran said that he thinks that he'll be buzzing next season. Said there was still some pain in his right knee during his rehab season. He's excited for the offseason to really work. Dude, that's what I'm talking about, man. Like, with the condensed schedule, with everything, all the craziness that happened throughout the year, these guys don't rehab the same. They don't have the same workout regimen that they would probably had their entire lives, or at least since college. I just think that some of these responses are really, really good. Samarin said that he was feeling, he said that he feels he's one of the toughest guys in the league and feels like the Flyers need that. He wants to be a Philadelphia Flyer. Hell yeah, Sam. I'm with you, brother. I think that you are one of the toughest guys in the league, and I think we need you on the team. Right on, man. Right on. Ivan Provorov on Cam York. Oh, this is going to be good. He's got all the tools. I think he'll have a chance of sticking around for the whole year next year. That's good. I like that. And that's good coming from Prov because, like I said, I compare Cam to Prov a lot, and with his poise on the ice. So I really like that. Sean Couturier said he rented ice time in the offseason 2 to 3 times a week, and he has a gym at home. He said there wasn't much else to do because of COVID-19, so he worked out and recovered, and that was pretty much it. Coots, we love you, man. You were one of the best players on our team. You bring it every night. You're good on the offensive end and the defensive end. I can't wait for things to go back to normal for you guys. It's probably way more normal for fans that don't have all the restrictions that you guys have, being that you have these contracts and whatnot. But Sean Coots, you are one of my favorite players on the team. The fact that you were renting all this ice time just to keep in shape and to work out just shows your dedication to the team, and I really appreciate that. Justin Braun said said it was his left foot in which he broke. He said it should be normal 4-week recovery. Okay, so basically Justin Braun in the last game against the Devils, he took a shot to the foot, broke his left foot, and sounds like he's going to be ready for the next season when that rolls around. That's good. Hopefully it's a speedy recovery, and hopefully everything goes well during the recovery. Rest up, Braun. You're one of the most consistent defensemen on the team this year. You're like the silent ninja. You don't hear from you much, but we know you're there. JVR said the assistant coaches have been great. They work hard and have experience, so the relationships have been good with all of them. Cool. Thank you, JVR. That's awesome to hear. Kevin Hayes commended Matt Niskanen, but wasn't buying his absence as an excuse for the team's bad season. You know what, Kevin? I love Kevin Hayes. Wasn't your best year. Obviously, last year was a little bit better. I think you knew that coming in. And there's a lot of fans that are frustrated with you because they feel like you quit on the team, you quit on the season. Kevin, I'm not mad at you, man. And the fact that you're commending Matt Niskanen for, calling it quits on the game and retiring when he did, and then saying that his absence was never an excuse, bro, thank you. The city needs to hear that. As much as we miss Matt Niskanen, there are other guys on the team that need to step up. Kevin Hayes also says he'll have a minor surgery this offseason, didn't disclose what the injury was. Okay, so maybe you're playing hurt. Maybe that's why you weren't giving your all effort. But how many games did Kevin Hayes miss? Exactly. All right. Now we're getting to the meat. We're getting to the captain, Claude Giroux. Oh, Giroux. We know it all falls on your shoulders, G. You are the captain of the Philadelphia Flyers. You are the captain in one of the toughest cities to play in. You are the captain of one of the hardest fan bases in the whole country, all the leagues. Here's what Claude Giroux has to say. Claude Giroux said, everyone was in the same boat this season across the NHL. He said younger teams can benefit more from practice. Mentioned how the Flyers had maybe one practice over the last 2 months. Called it a unique year. A lot of guys are not happy with the season. We're going to come out stronger next year. I want to win, and I'm pretty pissed off at the position that we're in. Oh, captain, oh, captain. That is our captain, Claude Giroux, speaking from the heart, telling us exactly what's going on. One practice in 2 months? Come on. Yo, when you have, let me read off some guys. When you have Nicolas Aube, when you have Joel Farabee, when you have Haig that's in and out of the lineup, Gostisbehere that's in and out of the lineup, connecting that's going on, there's a lot going on in his personal life. When you have Lirinski coming into the lineup, when you have Oscar Lindblom coming back from goddamn cancer with this crazy schedule, when you have Sam Morin that's not fully healthy, he's in a rehab season. Nolan Patrick barely played last year, if he played at all. Like I think he played like a little bit in the very beginning. He didn't really play. He's coming back from a major injury. Then you had Turinsky that barely played, Jake Voracek, whatever, Cam York, and JVR. You have a lot of young guys. Nicolas Aube, Wade Allison, Jackson Cates. Like you have all these young guys coming into the lineup. You need practice. You look at the Capitals, you look at Pittsburgh, a lot of their team has been together for a while, and the additions that they made in the offseason, or not in the offseason, I'm sorry, at the trade deadline, they gained people that have been in the league for a very long time. So practice isn't as important for teams like that when a team like us, we have so many young guys, we need practice. It affects everything. The timing of your passes, what you're going to do in situations, how you run your plays. Got me fired up. But yeah, he's pissed off, and I don't blame him. And I'm sure there's a lot of underlining tones in that pissed off. He's probably pissed off at a lot of stuff, and I don't want to get too much into that. Maybe we'll get into a different episode, not tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to do the recap. But we'll talk about what pissed me off this year at some point in an episode. But reading all this, what I think is important, especially in a season where you don't really connect with the fans as much. Even when you're at the games, it was different, not being at full capacity. But I think the future's bright for us. I really do. You put Joel Farabee, Wade Allison into the lineup. You have consistent guys playing. And maybe you make some trades. Maybe you make some moves in the offseason to add to the roster, to add to the competitiveness at camp. But I firmly believe that team we saw that got hot at the end of the year last year, going before the pandemic started and before the whole bubble situation, I believe that team that was the hottest team in the league, about to enter the playoffs, I believe that team still exists. And I believe that next year with a regular season, with regular practices, regular recovery and downtime, I believe that we'll be all right. So I think the future is bright. But I'm going to wrap it up right there. This was a little bit of a longer episode than normal. But like I said, I've been out for a couple weeks, so there's a lot to talk about. We will do a recap of the season. We'll go into each player. We'll talk about how they played, how they started the season, where they were in the middle, and how they ended the season. And we'll do that all next time on the next episode. So if you're not subscribed already, hit the subscription button. If you like what you hear, if you like what you see, all the support is greatly appreciated. Turn on that bell for notifications if you want to be notified anytime I do a live stream or post a video up on the channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next video. Go Flyers.